Hey there, good Monday morning. It's Heather Smith with barrelracingtips.com and I'm here with Pistol. We just finished session 11 and so I wanted to report into you this morning with a few tips and an update on how things are going with him. So since it's Monday, I would love to hear in the comments how your weekend went. If you rode or if you ran and competed over the weekend. If you didn't already report in yesterday, I would. Okay, I'm back. It looks like the connection was a little iffy there. So, hopefully we don't have any more connection issues. So this morning, I had a few things come to mind. I'm going to open the garage door all the way, this roll-up door, so we have better lighting here. So this morning I had a few things come to mind that I thought might be helpful for you. One of them was on the topic of mental connection, and I've touched on this before, but I had the opportunity to work with a new horse over the weekend, and I just wanted to offer like a couple of the indicators that tell me immediately how mentally connected a horse is. And so basically when I talk about mental connection, I mean that the horse is open and willing and seeking out a conversation with us, where they're making indicators that they want to interact with us. And when we have that willingness and that open-mindedness with them, then the possibilities for higher level communication go so much further. Otherwise, it's just like them responding to cues in like robot mode, and it's just cause and effect, and they can just go through the motions and be like zombies basically. So a couple of the indicators I look for when I'm meeting a new horse is that if I offer my hand to them like Pistol does, I want them to reach forward and like offer to connect with me. And so here's the thing, is that if we are not somebody that's offering to connect with them, then they're not going to get in the habit of wanting to connect back with us either. So the next big indicator that that tells me how open and willing and to connect mentally with me a horse is their expression and their eyes. So I really like to have you know, like a softness and a thoughtfulness. And when you have a horse, like I don't know if you've experienced this, but you can have a horse that has maybe a big furrowed eyebrow and kind of almost like a grimace on their face, like they look like a grumpy old man. And with the right kind of training and development and communication, like that, all the muscles and everything, that soft tissues in their face can just totally transform because we're changing them from the inside out, and then we can see the difference on the outside. So I really want a softness, and I don't want an emptiness. Like if we're running barrels on our horse and they're going by barrels, or they're just not responsive to us, if we were to backtrack, it's like it's really hard to have any kind of language in communication when we're not like getting on the same page on a regular basis. So the big thing that I notice with horses who are not mentally connected is that they'll just have a very hard, empty stare where it's like there's nobody home. And it's a little bit sad even, like if you go to connect with a horse and it's like they've become accustomed to people just doing things to them, not necessarily for them and with them. And they're just kind of zoned out in their own little world. And if we think about trying to do advanced things with them, it's no wonder that we might run into obstacles or trouble, because they're just kind of drowning out the periphery and not really partaking in, you know, fully into what we want to do with them. So that's something I wanted to offer. My horses too, I want them asking me questions. So I've said that I'm doing a lot of groundwork with Pistol. I saddled him today. I'm going to be starting to ride him this week. But I'm just getting him into shape like really slowly and gradually because he's had like so many months off. But one thing I really look for, especially during groundwork, is that I want my horse to be turning to me and asking me questions with their ears forward. And again, that's mental connection. It's like, how is that? You know, and so that's something to look for as well, where if a horse is either just zoned out, like nobody's knock knock, nobody's home, there probably isn't anybody home. Their mind is somewhere else, and we want them in the moment with us. And then I want them checking in with me and asking me like, was that enough? And mentally like with me in the moment. And their ears and their eyes and their willingness to just soften and turn and check in and just have this conversation will tell us where they're at. And if they are not mentally present, then we can interrupt the pattern and cause them to just do something that causes them to get their focus on us and what we're asking, and then just reward that mental state and say, hey, thanks for checking back in with me. So the other thing I wanted to mention, and I think I talked about this in a video, a foundation video that I did, but I have super, super high standards for my horse's responsiveness on the ground. And so I want to be able, with just like fingertip pressure, I want to be able to like get my horse to just lean forward, just shift their weight. Shift it forward and back. Forward and back. And then I want to be able to move my horse like they're 1 foot, like 6 inches. Oh, that was like 2 inches. But I want like fingertip, hair trigger responsiveness in a halter. And if we don't have that, if we can't position our horse anywhere, anytime, in a split second on the ground with just super, super lightness, then it would be kind of obvious, or it would be no wonder if we had trouble with them positioning their feet under saddle. So this is really where it all starts. And here's the thing, just in your day-to-day activities, when you're going through gates, you're loading your horse in the trailer, you're leading them to the arena and whatever, I never want to have to be pulling on my horse to get them from point A to point B, or to get them to move. Like if I'm standing still just resting and I want to go, they should immediately just go with me. I don't want this lead rope to have to come tight at all. So they need to be mentally connected and then educated so that they realize, even if there's a float in the rope, that this feel has meaning. And if I go to send them with float in the rope, you see how he starts to come alive just when I go like this? He's ready to do something. And if a horse doesn't understand the meaning to this, then I'll just use some driving pressure to back it up and say twirl my lead rope towards their hind end to get them to yield or to go forward, for example, to learn to keep that float and that in the rope. That's their responsibility to maintain this. So those are a couple things that came to mind from this morning. One more thing I was going to mention that I did today. So every time that we start a session, he's always a little bit pokey. Like I want to have a really engaged, when we do our first 7 minutes of walking, I want him to be like walking at a good pace and really moving forward and reaching deep with his hind feet. And he always starts out a little bit pokey. And I mean, in part it's his personality, but I want him to get in the habit. If I ask him, if I have a brisk walk level of energy in my body, I want him to be walking briskly. But I want him to, once I ask him at the same time, like he needs to maintain it too. And so sometimes like I can go to phase 4 to remind him like, hey, I asked you to go, you've got to go like now. And I might slap the ground like right behind his hind end to make it kind of a game. And he'll respond, he'll kind of overreact, but I don't want him to like have this big overreaction burst of speed when he's not really warmed up yet. I'm trying to be conservative with his body. And so what I did today, because this has kind of been an ongoing thing, what I did today instead to mix it up is that I thought, I reminded myself to get to a horse like him who's more laid back, to really get to their feet freed up and moving, we've got to get their brain moving. So it's like the opposite is true for horses like .com, who are like go, 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 go. So basically what I did is that I have these ground poles, and at each ground pole, I went to each one and I asked him to lower his head and touch his nose on the ground pole. And then I said, good. And I asked him to walk over it. Then I asked him to stop. And then I asked him to back up until like his hind fetlock touched the pole. And then we went to the next one and I asked him to touch it and then rewarded him and then go over it, then stop and back up and put his hind leg on the ground pole. And so what this did is that it got his mental wheels turning. So I have to get him thinking, and it just does magic for freeing up his feet. So with horses like .com, who are mentally and emotionally kind of troubled, if we move their feet around, a lot of times that will help them mentally. So it's kind of a reverse flip-flop sort of thing in these polar opposite personalities. But I have some resources at barrelracingtips.com that talk a little bit more about this, so I'll try to post that in the comments. So those of you tuning in, I would love to hear, please report to me how your weekend went. And I would just love to confirm that the comments are working also. So those of you that are still hanging with me, if you want to just say hello to confirm, because I've got a couple of comments, but it would be awesome. We've had trouble with them coming through, and there was a connection issue when we started up, so it might be that they're not working. But so hopefully that was helpful. Here, I'll just demonstrate. I'm going to wait and see if some comments come through. So I can use steady pressure, this steady pressure on the halter to ask him to go forward and back, or I can I just can't tell you how handy this is, and how I can just position his body literally anywhere, anytime. And it also really does a world of good for keeping our horses safe, where we can just move them and there's going to be no delay. And at the highest, like when we're running barrels, when we ask them to make an adjustment in a run, or we want to position them just so in the alley, there cannot be a delay. And this is really where it all starts. And if things are broken here, it's not going to be surprising if we're going to run into limitations. Whatever we are able to create at the high discipline specific end of things, whatever we are able to put together would actually be a lot better had this foundational stuff been a little bit more firm. So hope that helps. Like I said, I'll post some resources in the comments to follow up more on what we talked about today. But I will be back with another episode. It will be session number 12 of Pistol's Progress on Wednesday morning around 8-ish. And then tomorrow, instead of Q&A Tuesday at 6 p.m., I'm actually going to be doing a live interview at noon Central Time on Facebook. And so if you're subscribed to my emails, which you can get on the free guide and tips page, sign up at barrelracingtips.com. I will be letting you know exactly, well, I'm sure if you just go to my page, you'll see when we go live at noon. But it's going to be like an interview and an open Q&A too. So I invite you to do that. Instead of at 6 tomorrow, tune in at noon. Awesome, Felicia. Let's see, my mare worked nicely around the barrels this weekend, but in between the first and second, not confident, almost unsure where to go, even if I'm driving her. So I'll follow up and post some resources for that too. There's one that comes to mind that says an article at barrelracingtips.com about being straight and fast between the barrels. And I bet if you search for straight and fast, you could find it. But when I get in the house, I will post a link for you that will help. But if she's not confident, think about how you could possibly build her confidence in general, and then build it on the barrels and build it in the competition environment, and then make 100% certain that she's really fully understanding of what you're asking, because that itself, that education factor, builds confidence too. So thanks for tuning in. As always, this is a lot of fun. I'm going to go get Pistol a drink. I already walked him out and he had his roll, so he's ready to hydrate and get turned out. So we'll see you again soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.